What if I told you there exists a way to love your spouse and children more deeply than ever before, yet without the suffocating grip of possession that destroys so many families, and that this transformation can begin within 24 hours through a simple shift in consciousness that requires no permission from anyone? What if the very act of releasing your hold on those you love actually draws them closer to you, while clinging and controlling inevitably pushes them away? This is not cold indifference disguised as spirituality, nor abandonment of genuine affection. It is the highest form of love, what I call divine love, that seeks the happiness of the beloved rather than the satisfaction of one's own ego. As Paramahansa Yogananda, I have observed across decades of teaching that the greatest suffering in family life comes not from lack of love, but from attachment masquerading as love, from the desperate need to possess and control those we claim to cherish. If you are ready to transform possessive attachment into liberating love and to discover the peace that comes when you release what you cannot control, comment below. I unite with the divine and my reality transforms. This is not a plea but a command that shifts your consciousness from ego-centered grasping to soul-centered giving right now. The crisis in modern relationships is that people confuse attachment with love. You believe you love your spouse deeply because you cannot bear the thought of losing them, because you feel anxious when they are away, because you constantly worry about their faithfulness or approval. You believe you love your children because you want to control their choices, because you suffer when they do not meet your expectations, because you cannot imagine your identity without them. But I tell you, this is not love. This is attachment. And attachment is a blind feeling that tortures the soul and accomplishes nothing. Real love is happy only in the happiness of the beloved. If you say you love your spouse, but become miserable when they pursue their own interests or friendships, if you love your children, but try to shape them according to your desires rather than their own nature, then what you call love is actually a form of imprisonment for them and for yourself. The conventional approach teaches people to strengthen these bonds of attachment, to make relationships more secure through constant communication, shared activities, and mutual dependency. But this approach fails because it creates relationships based on need rather than freedom, on fear rather than joy, on control rather than trust. When the inevitable changes come, when your spouse grows in directions you did not anticipate, when your children become independent and different from what you imagined, these attachment-based relationships crack and crumble, leaving behind bitterness and betrayal. From my years of spiritual seeking and teaching, I discovered a profound truth. You cannot truly love what you try to possess. Nature teaches this lesson again and again. Why does Divine Mother cause us to love some people so dearly, only to snatch them away from us, at least from our view? Divine love says, if you love me, you will love me not in one being, but in all. Though you try to cage me in one person, I will destroy in the end the body frame which holds them, so that you may learn to find me in all. Every spouse, every child, every beloved person is a temporary manifestation of the one infinite consciousness. They are souls on their own eternal journey, temporarily intersecting with yours. You did not create them. You do not own them. You cannot ultimately control their path. They belong to God, not to you. When you recognize this truth, your love transforms. You still feel deeply, still care profoundly, still serve willingly, but without the desperate grasping, without the fear of loss, without the need to shape them according to your ego's demands. This is what I call detached love, or divine love that is free, expansive, unconditional. The mechanism by which attachment creates suffering while detachment creates freedom operates at the level of consciousness and energy. When you are attached to a person, you create energetic cords of dependency. Your happiness becomes hostage to their behavior, their choices, their continued presence in your life. You are not at peace in yourself. You are constantly monitoring them, worrying about them, trying to control them. This creates a subtle but constant state of fear and anxiety. Your subconscious mind accepts the programming, I am not complete without this person. If I lose them or if they disappoint me, I will be destroyed. This belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because the very energy of desperate clinging repels what you seek to hold. People instinctively withdraw from those who try to possess them. Children rebel against parents who control rather than guide. Spouses feel suffocated by partners who demand rather than offer. But when you practice detached love, something miraculous occurs. You love fully, but without need. You give completely, but without expectation. You care deeply, but without fear. This creates a different energetic field, one of freedom, trust, and genuine affection. Your subconscious accepts new programming. I am whole and complete in myself. I love this person from my fullness, not from my emptiness. Their choices are theirs to make. I trust divine wisdom to guide their path. This consciousness of freedom paradoxically creates deeper connection because now you are relating soul to soul rather than need to need, ego to ego. I will teach you now a practice to cultivate detached love in your family relationships. Begin each morning with meditation to establish your identity in the soul rather than in your roles or relationships. Sit with spine erect, close your eyes, focus at the spiritual eye, and practice the Hong Sao technique. Observe your natural breath, mentally repeating Hong on the inhalation and Sao on the exhalation, I am He, affirming your identity with infinite consciousness. Practice for at least 15 minutes until you touch the inner peace that is independent of any external circumstance or relationship. In that stillness, you remember, I am not merely a husband or wife, not merely a parent or child. I am an eternal soul, complete in God, temporarily playing these roles. When you establish yourself in this truth daily, you gain the foundation from which detached love can flow. After meditation, consciously offer your family relationships to the divine. Visualize your spouse and children in your mind's eye, but instead of seeing them as mine, see them as God's beloved children temporarily entrusted to your care. Inwardly declare, Divine Mother, Father, these souls belong to you, not to me. Help me love them with your love unconditional, freeing, seeking only their highest good. Remove from my heart all possessiveness, all attempts to control, all attachment to outcomes. Let me serve them joyfully, but without enslaving myself to their approval or presence. This morning practice, done with sincerity, begins to reprogram the subconscious patterns of possessive attachment. Throughout your day, practice what I call conscious non-attachment in your interactions. When your spouse makes a choice you would not have chosen for them, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, am I upset because this actually harms them? Or am I upset because they did not consult my preferences, because they are demonstrating independence from my control? If it is the latter, consciously release. Inwardly say, you are free. I support your freedom to live according to your own inner guidance. When your child pursues interests different from what you envision, resist the urge to redirect them toward your dreams for them. Instead ask, what is their soul seeking to express? How can I support who they are rather than who I want them to be? This does not mean abandoning guidance or wisdom. A parent must still protect and teach. A spouse may still offer perspective. But the energy shifts from control to support, from possession to partnership, from fear to trust. When family members disappoint you or fail to meet expectations, practice the radical acceptance that says they are learning their lessons in their own way and time, just as I am learning mine. I can offer love without demanding they be different than they are. The most powerful practice occurs in a state of quietude before sleep, those 60 seconds when your subconscious is extraordinarily receptive. As you lie in bed preparing for sleep, bring to mind each family member. Place your hand on your heart and inwardly speak to each one, though they cannot hear your words, I love you with divine love. I release you from my need to possess you. I bless your freedom. I trust God's guidance in your life. You are not here to complete me or to fulfill my expectations. You are a soul on your own sacred journey. My joy is in loving you, not in owning you. Feel the energy of release, of letting go, of trusting. Visualize cutting any cords of possessive attachment that bind you to them, while simultaneously strengthening cords of pure affection, respect, and goodwill. Then declare for yourself, I am complete in God. My happiness does not depend on any person's behavior or presence. I love from fullness, not from need. I am becoming free, and in my freedom, my love becomes divine. These impressions planted nightly in the subconscious gradually dissolve lifelong patterns of attachment and possessiveness. Within 24 hours of beginning this practice with sincerity, you will notice shifts in your consciousness and interactions. Perhaps in a situation that would normally trigger possessive anxiety, your spouse being late without calling, your child making an independent choice, you find yourself remaining calm, trusting, centered in your own peace, rather than disturbed by their behavior. Maybe you experience a spontaneous moment of recognition. I have been loving from need, from fear of loss, from ego's demand for control, and this is not love at all. You might notice your family members responding differently to you, perhaps with less defensiveness or withdrawal, as if they sense energetically that you are no longer trying to possess them, or the shift may be entirely internal, a lightness, a freedom, a sense that you no longer need anything from them to be happy, and paradoxically, this makes you love them more genuinely than ever before. These are signs that attachment is transforming into divine love, that possessiveness is giving way to freedom. Do not expect that decades of conditioned attachment will vanish overnight. This is a practice, a gradual transformation. But trust that every moment of conscious release, every act of blessing their freedom rather than demanding their conformity, moves you closer to the love that liberates rather than imprisons. Some will ask, but doesn't detachment mean becoming cold, uncaring, apathetic? No, detachment is not apathy. It is the highest form of caring because it seeks the true good of the beloved rather than the comfort of the ego. When I speak of loving without attachment, I do not mean withdrawing affection, abandoning responsibility, or becoming emotionally distant. I mean loving so purely that you want what is best for them, even if it means they grow beyond you, even if it means they choose paths you would not choose, even if it means you must let them experience difficulties from which you cannot protect them. This is how God loves, giving freedom, allowing growth, supporting without controlling. Others will say, but I need my spouse, I need my children, how can I not be attached? The truth is, you do not need them in the way you think. What you need is God, is your own inner wholeness. When you find that, you discover you can love everyone more fully precisely because you need no one desperately. Your love becomes a gift rather than a demand, an offering rather than a bargain. Understand also that detached love includes allowing those you love to experience the consequences of their choices. Possessive love tries to rescue, to prevent all suffering, to control outcomes. But true love recognizes that growth comes through experience, wisdom through mistakes, strength through challenges. If your adult child makes choices you believe are unwise, you may offer perspective once with love, but then you must release. They must learn their lessons. Your attachment will not save them, it will only prevent them from growing. If your spouse struggles with their own issues, you can offer support, but you cannot fix them. They must do their inner work. Your desperate attempts to change them will only create resistance and resentment. Detached love says, I am here, I care, but I cannot live your life for you. I trust your soul to learn what it needs to learn, and I trust divine wisdom to guide your path even through difficulties. The highest form of detached love is recognizing that everyone you love is ultimately seeking the same thing you are, reunion with God, freedom from suffering, realization of their true divine nature. When you see this, your love expands beyond the particular. You begin to love not just your spouse, but the divine consciousness temporarily wearing that form. You love not just your child, but the eternal soul learning its lessons through that young body. This universalizing of love does not make your specific relationships less special. It makes them more sacred, because now they are recognized as expressions of the one infinite love seeking to know itself through countless forms. Your family becomes a training ground where you learn to love as God loves, unconditionally, without possession, seeking only the growth and happiness of each soul. As we conclude, I call you to make this commitment for the next 30 days. Practice daily meditation to establish your identity in the soul rather than in your relationships. Throughout each day, consciously release possessive thoughts and choose trust over control. Each night before sleep, practice the release and blessing technique I have given you. Observe how your relationships transform when you love from fullness rather than need, from freedom rather than fear. Comment below, I unite with the divine and my reality transforms to seal your commitment. Subscribe and activate notifications to continue receiving these sacred teachings. Share this message with anyone suffering from the pain of possessive attachment. Remember, you were not given a spouse to possess, but a soul to honor. You were not given children to control, but souls to guide toward their own relationship with the divine. True love sets free. Attachment imprisons. When you learn to love without grasping, without demanding, without needing, you discover a love so vast, so pure, so liberating that it transforms not only your relationships, but your very consciousness. May you become free in love. May your family know the blessing of being loved without being possessed. May you discover that in releasing them, you free yourself.